Hey everybody, Steve Ritter coming to you from sunny Abu Dhabi. Happy Sunday to you. And I am working my way through the Bible. I've been keeping track of the books I've been reading and all. I'm in Psalms now, and everybody knows Psalm 23. That's what I love about reading God's Word is every time there's something new He reveals to us, isn't it? In different parts of a chapter or a verse or something in particular need that He provides at the time we need it. But today I was struck by Psalm 23 verse 4, and I'll read that now. So even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. And I was sitting there this morning thinking about what is that rod and staff? What is that? And I was looking into that, and um, I've actually, there's plenty of religious scholars that or Bible folks that are a lot more accomplished than me studying the Word, but that have thoughts on it. And I was curious. I actually went to a website, a sheep herder, and talked about it. And this one particular article, um, guy was talking about it, and he said, of course, he mentioned, the verse in Psalms, and he said, yeah, but a lot of the people that follow the traditional sheep herding methods these days still use the rod and staff, and here's what they are. And so a rod, it typically is a heavy wooden stick or club that the shepherd would carry to help protect the flock from predators. It was something to kind of club off the wolves or whatever that grabbed one of the sheep, or they could be used. It also said you could also use it to kind of chuck it over towards the sheep if they start wandering off, because they tend to, as we do, don't we? Um, Chuck it over that way, and they come running back to the herd. That's the rod. And then the staff, of course, everybody's familiar with the long pole with the kind of the crook in it, and that's used to pull them in or kind of help guide them along. And there's a couple of things that I thought was really interesting. Was that for sheep, there's a zone around them. It's called the flight zone. There's spots where if you kind of penetrate that, kind of like their personal space, and you penetrate that, it's gonna trigger a flight in them. They're gonna get startled and take off running. So shepherds kind of know where that's at, and they kind of keep out of that. And there's also an interesting term called point of balance, where as you're herding sheep like for you, they like when you're herding them, they like to kind of keep even shoulder to shoulder. Um, so the staff actually provides, and the rod both. If you just kind of imagine these longer wooden poles allow you to kind of put your arms out, keep out of that flight zone, and kind of keep the sheep even with you as you kind of herd them, and then you kind of follow them along, which I thought was really interesting, because the first part of that verse, even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil. You got the rod the shepherd has to protect you from whatever's in that dark valley, and the staff is there to kind of help guide you through the valley. And I thought about that, and I mean, that's what a beautiful analogy, And there's a lot of the analogies that a lot of times that are used in the Bible that just are lost on us in today's modern times. We think about rod, staff. We think about God's this vengeful old man that's up there just ready with this club that as soon as we step out of line, he smacks us. And I don't believe that. I read that a few years ago that it's not. He's a loving father who cares for and disciplines his children. And as a father, I think about that a lot too. I think about with my children that and I read that, and I read some books. Dr. James Dobson, Bringing Up Boys, talking about how I needed that with three boys. Thinking about that as a parent, that children need discipline, and they need to know where the lines are drawn. They need to know where that staff is outstretched, and you can't go past that, and that gives them comfort knowing where the boundaries are, and the discipline. And I think about that. There's one other little point with the staff that I thought was really cool. Um, Again, it's these staffs typically have kind of a crook in them, and you can imagine all the the shepherd's crook, the long staff with kind of the curl around it. Um, that sheep, again, they kind of wander, and they get kind of stubborn. It said that sheep are more powerful with their head down. So if they get outside the flock and you want to bring them in, and they put their head down, right? If you get inside that flight zone or whatever, and you spook them, they might come at you or whatever. And the staff was kind of used, and they would take the crook to lift up the sheep's head, and then use that to kind of bring them back into the flock. So you have this stubborn, hard-headed sheep, and he uses that staff to lift its head up to make it a little more compliant or less aggressive, and kind of go, okay, come on back in now. And I think about that and how God uses that staff sometimes. That's a comfort for us as well, that he uses that to help bring us back into the flock, doesn't he? So I hope this is a comfort to you. This talk today, a little shorter one, but this is that God is a loving Father and a loving shepherd, and he cares for his flock. He loves his flock, and Jesus talked about that quite a bit. That the shepherd loves his flock, and he takes care of his flock, and he's not he doesn't sit there with that rod ready to smack you with it. Um, he's a loving God. So I hope this is a comfort for you. I hope it's a blessing for you. I hope you have a happy Sunday, and we'll see y'all next time.